Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome back to the show Paul Scheer. Paul, good to see you, man.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's great to have you actually in studio because every time we got a chance to talk to you was always at New York Comic Con.
Yes, which is a big mess. Yeah.
and we did get some one-on-one time with you each time, and thanks to FX for that. But because there's so much other press that you're at this table for a little bit, then you move over to the next table.
Exactly.
So you never really get to...
What people don't realize is when you go to a big Comic-Con event, there's the main show where you're on a stage and there's a huge audience there. And then immediately after, they bring you to this backstage area, which is just like curtains and round tables.
And they step and repeat, too.
A big step and repeat. And then they just make you sit at these round tables. Not make, but they have you sit at these round tables with like 5 or 6 people, and they all have recorders. And you have to kind of round robin around, so you don't even get a full connection, and inevitably, and you probably experience this all the time, you get partnered up with someone who is like a terrible interviewer also, and they're going to take up a lot of the time at that table. Like I always know there's always like 1 or 2 people that are like, oh,
it's the guy dressed like Batman every time.
I remember I used to get interviewed for the league, and they would say like, "Hi, I'm with Fangoria magazine." And first of all, I didn't know that Fangoria magazine still existed. Second of all, why Fangoria magazine when we're talking about the league? And then third of all, you're using a tape recorder. Like, why? Let's up the game here a little bit.
So the audience knows. Here's a prime example. The publicist will bring the talent around, like bringing Paul, right?
Yep.
FX representative, and goes, "Hey guys, Paul Scheer is here. You got 10 minutes with him. Go." And you're like, "Okay, great." But when you're at the round table, you'll get some guy where she says, "He's here for season 6 of the league. Here, go ask your questions." And the one guy will go, "So what is the league? What is it about? I don't know anything about it." And you're like, everybody else who would kill to be in that chair is just looking at you like you are a fucking idiot.
Well, it's weird because my whole issue with Comic-Con in general is I don't love who they have like running the panels. It always feels like it's about that person and it's not about the fan. It's like they go over stuff that the audience is already on board with. Like you're in front of a room of like 500 people.
Have a
it's
preset
like
audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not going out on TV. It's not going out anywhere. So we don't have to like go like, who are the Avengers? Robert Downey Jr. Go. It's like no, let's just get into like some more fun stuff. I've gotten lucky. I've gotten to host a couple things, and I always try to host as a fan.
Right.
And I did
that's when you should.
Exactly.
You're not trying to be Letterman or a Charlie Rose or anything like that.
No.
That's the time when the host isn't the important figure in the interview.
To me, it's about like answering the questions that I might have. Like I did the Lost panel with the cast before the last 2 episodes of Lost, so it was kind of right at the end of that. And then I did the 10-year reunion of the Lost special, which was really fun. And then I did another Carlton Cuse one, the show The Colony with like Josh Holloway
on USA.
Yeah, on USA.
Show, yeah.
And it was sort of like you just have to kind of
questions?
Yeah, I did ask but you got to like find that balance of keeping it fun, because I think the thing is it's a show. It is a show. It's like 500 people are there or 1,000 people are there, and sometimes as hosts, I mean, as a fan, I get like bummed out. I want to like connect with these people and not just have the same like boring questions that.
One last Comic-Con thing, and then we'll get into all the million.
Don't worry about it. We'll take whatever. Don't even worry about it.
One year, it might have been last year, 2014, I think.
Yeah.
It was. We were lucky enough to get one-on-ones with Constantine, which was going to debut on NBC, and I'm a big fan. And so we go there, and there wasn't a lot of press there. Like I think a lot of the bigger press didn't know what to make of that.
Sure.
But I'm like, Constantine should be at Comic-Con. This isn't like Constantine.
That is a comic book character, yeah.
At a Comic-Con.
This is the stuff you should know.
But you know what it is? Is it's not a big, it's like not a celebrity that people know or whatever, or
and
character.
That's what makes it good, because it's like you're not being drawn. It's a brand new, not a brand new character, but to mainstream TV, it's brand new. You want everyone to be identified as the characters, not as, such and such playing Constantine, that takes you out of the story.
I totally agree. And it's sort of like we've have this like dearth of shows on TV. I feel like episodic TV is perfect for comic book characters and certain ones. Like, I mean, I'm so excited for Preacher. Like, I feel like they kind of figured out
saw the first 4.
What do you guys think?
Pretty
awesome.
good.
And I got a chance to talk to Seth Rogen about it.
Yeah.
Did you see him?
I did not see the first 4. I've just seen the first one, which was awesome.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
you
great.
saw the first one.
It's great. Yeah.
How awesome was that?
So amazing. The plane sequence, it's like, it's awesome. The Preacher to me is they're doing like that's the way it should be done. Like I always felt like, man, I wish The Watchmen was going to be like on HBO and you just make it like or even FX. You just do a mini series of that book.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big Zack Snyder fan, and I didn't really like the way that they did The Watchmen, nor do I like Batman, Superman. I'm like, no offense, but it just sort of like I feel like sometimes people get soured on cool ideas or weird ideas because they're handled in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas like something like Deadpool to me is another one that I've written Deadpools for Marvel and I've just been a fan of Deadpool. It's like, yeah, they created it the way that it should be created, not with a bunch of notes, not with a bunch, it's like, this is the character, we're taking the character and we're expanding it.
Well, I feel like Zac Efron's more interested in recreating the art on the panels as frames than he is of actually interpreting the story correctly.
I agree. And the art, it looks beautiful.
It looks great. He gets those shots
Zac
perfect.
Efron?
Or Zac Efron. Zack Snyder, sorry.
Zac Efron also very concerned with the...
There's too
the
many
actors.
Zacs.
But wait, so now did you get to actually sit and get a good interview with the Constantine people, or did you feel like...
Yeah, we got one-on-ones because there was less press there, which meant I felt really bad, but I was just like, that was a better opportunity for us.
Yeah.
That we were going to get everybody and have time with everybody.
Yeah.
Because that's the other hurdle too, is you may get one-on-ones, but they may offer you everybody, but then because everything going on, you lose time. So people on the end of the list start getting cut off, and you don't get to everybody.
Exactly.
What I was going to say originally was about people not knowing what to do with the interviews at Constantine. Besides the lack of a lot of other press there was a guy dressed as a Ghostbuster to do interviews, and one of the publicists said, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, it's already a low blow that there wasn't as much press there that should have been, but when you get the guy dressed as a Ghostbuster, obviously a blogger, they're like, look, we need to do legit press on this.
Well, it is. It's like you are doing a job. Like you, and even if you are a comic fan and, whatever, you need to be a little bit professional, because I think also from doing this for the last, 10 years, you get like the sense of like who is someone who cares about their job and someone who's like, I just got a press pass because I'm a super fan and I'm going to write this. I'm going to put this on my YouTube page, which gets like 7 views a video. And I'm going to there's like that bullshit level of press, which it's just like a super fan who wants to kind of meet everybody.
It's the guy with like the little monopod and the little like HDV camera from 2005. And you're like, dude, really?
I know. It's like a little bit weird. And there's, and it's weird because they always seem to monopolize more time than anybody else.
Or the people from no matter what the press is, when they have their art book or their poster book, whatever, and it's already laid out as the interview's starting. I understand. We do it too when we do interviews. Sometimes we'll have posters for whatever because we'll give them away on the air, or maybe we're fans and we want it for ourselves.
Totally
but
fine.
We do it after. You don't have it on the table. You try to come off professional while doing it, and they got everything laid out with the markers ready to go, and you're like, you're just here to get this guy to sign stuff. You're not really focused.
You're just exactly.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, speaking of projects, you have so many damn things going on here. We were like, when do you have time to live as a normal human being?
I think a lot of the things that I have been lucky to do take a little bit of time. They don't take a long period of time. So you talk about like a show that's on the air, like whatever your favorite show is, even like talk about Preacher, right? Mm-hmm. That's like 6 or 5 days to shoot an episode, maybe a little bit more, right? And then they're shooting 12 episodes. So that's 12 weeks, and then editing time, like it just becomes bigger and bigger. That's like a more than a half a year project, for them to do. For me, like I just shot this series that is out right now out on this Fullscreen app called Filthy Preppy Teens, right? We did 8 half hours in 11 days. So we get everybody there for 11 days. We just crank, and then we're done. And then the cast is done, and then we start editing. Editing always takes a little bit long, but you can, once you're done shooting, you're able to kind of go around and do different stuff. So that's the difference between 8 weeks of shooting and literally 11 days.
All right, let's start with Filthy Preppy Teens then. My question is with Fullscreen, because I was trying to figure out some of the things.
So yeah,
it's a partnership, right, with YouTube?
Well, here's the deal, right? Fullscreen is trying to be the next Netflix in many ways. Like they are a new service. They're like Hulu, Netflix, Fullscreen. They just started, so no one really knows them yet, but they have tons of original content. They also have like cool old content. And I always sound like I'm like selling the company, but it just, no one knows what it is. Like they have movies like, Cruel Intentions and Talladega Nights. So they have like that. They have every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, every episode of like Dawson's Creek. So they have like cool stuff. It's a real mix of stuff. And then they got like our show. They have like Shane Dawson has a show. Like, so it's a mix of younger stuff But like for me, like having every episode of Buffy is like awesome. Like, and I'm a huge Buffy fan.
I'm glad you said this because after watching the trailer and some early stuff from Filthy Preppy Teens, I had the feeling, because for those who don't know, you created the show and you write on the show and you appear very...
I'm briefly in it and I directed a little bit too,
I had the sense that you were going for a Clueless meets Mean Girls meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, it's you're kind of right, because there's elements, and I would even kind of expand it, like a little bit of like Pretty Little Liars, a little bit of these CW shows like The Flash and Arrow, because that's like the new teen show. Like
90s teen movies and 2000 teens television.
Yeah, exactly. And it's we're trying to like basically parody these shows like right now, because the shows that we kind of grew up with, like the Dawson's Creek, the OC, Swan's Crossing, whatever, those shows are kind of like locked in amber. And now it is all about like the Teen Wolf, the, Flash and Arrow are teen shows. They're not like they're in a different package, but they're teen shows, and I think Pretty Little Liars is really the only outlier of like being a traditional teen show. So we're just kind of having fun with that whole conceit. But in researching it and watching more and more of them, I was like, man, these shows go really dark. Like, like there would be like a very special episode of Beverly Hills 90210 when like Brenda drinks and drives. Like here, they're killing their parents, and like so we had to like top that.
Isn't it weird that you don't notice? I mean, unless you plow through everything like a binge watch, you don't really notice it because it's kind of candied up. It's shiny and happy.
Yeah,
it's got this whole facade in front, and even though all this dark stuff's going on, you really kind of think back to, they're at the lunchroom again. And who's going to this
like
party?
Sexy and like fun and cool. And they're like, these are evil people. Like Filthy Little Liars or whatever that show is, Pretty Little Liars. They kill their best friend in the first episode. And they're like, and they have to keep the secret of how they killed her.
They did it in Scream, too.
Yeah.
Even though that was,
a horror thing.
Premise. But in the TV show, Bella Thorne's there. She's in the bikini. She's in the pool, all sexy stuff. Axe her off, and then the whole series is about her being killed.
So there's a real fun thing to be able to like get in and parody this stuff, which I feel like it's not been done at all. It's so prevalent right now. I mean, it's on TV everywhere you look. And so we just wanted to have fun with it. And what we actually were able to do is we got some people that that are younger teens, like this guy Max Carver, who's in The Leftovers. He's also in Teen Wolf. We got Hannah Kasula, who's now in the new Exorcist show on Fox. Dylan Galula, who is like on Kimmy Schmidt. So we got some really funny people, we got some new people, and it's just kind of making fun of it. So we're TV has like a Teen Wolf. We have a Teen Leprechaun, a kid who becomes a leprechaun. Like we have, we have an affair with a character from a Narnia. Like they're opening a club and they find a portal to Narnia, and it's like Unipony comes out, and he has he has this like kind of a unicorn thing, but it's more of like a lump. And she's like, I love your.
One of the best things in the trailer was when he's turning into the wolf. The teen wolf thing, and it sounds like he's like violently jerking off.
Yeah,
and his mom's at the door, and he's trying to cover the fact that he's changing. He goes, she's like, everything all right there? And he goes, I'm jerking off.
Yeah. It's like
she's like, oh, okay, I'll leave him alone.
So like that's the kind of like level, from like it's kind of, I couldn't put myself in the show because I don't look like a teen. So my whole thing was like what we did for Children's Hospital, NTSF, Burning Love, all those shows we're kind of doing now for these teen shows. So if you like these teen shows, I think you'll like it. If you don't like them, I think you'll like it because it's kind of making fun of it. And like one of our big things is that our two main teens, have been lost on an island all summer, and they come back and now they're not popular. So they've regained their popularity.
That's almost like Arrow.
It is, right? It is, right? And so while he was on that island, he learned the ways of the boomerang. So he is becoming the new superhero called the Boom. So he is like going out and being a vigilante, the Boom. So like, there's a little bit of everything in it.
If you could ever license Saliva's Click Click Boom, and just the part at the end where they go click click boom,
that would be amazing. Yeah.
So whenever he does a really douchebag move, boom, that
would be amazing.
Click, boom, out of here. So changing gears for a second here, back to my favorite podcast, which is How Did This Get Made?
Cool.
Because I'm a huge fan. Because like to me, bad movies, like Razzies are my Oscars. Like I love bad movies. Right? I just want to know, do you have any interest in doing things like Cabin Boy, like movies where
it's interesting. Well, like that are to finish your set.
Because I went to a screening 2 years ago of Cabin Boy in the City, and Chris Elliott and Adam Resnick were there, and they gave like a Q&A, and the movie like pretty much destroyed their lives. And it's like the craziest story because they're on stage like, it's just a goofy movie, man, like what the hell. And like it just really ruin things for them, but it's such a great cult film. So I didn't know if you guys would like touch on something like that.
Well, to me, I feel like, we always try to talk about movies that are so bad that they're good, and I feel like Cabin Boy to me was something that I remember seeing and liking.
Same here. I loved it from right off the bat.
Yeah, and so it's tricky. I think with that normally we stay away from comedies in general, just because it's. I think the hardest thing to do is to tell anybody what's funny and not funny, because it's like everyone has their sensibility, and it's fine. Like we won't share it, and that's fine. It's the reason why a bunch of people watch a Kevin Hart show and a bunch of people watch I want to say Jeff Foxworthy show. It's like they're very different audiences, but that doesn't mean that they're going to like the same thing, just because comedy's not one thing. But yeah, to me, it's like if we could get somebody on that was interesting, like when we had Lexi Alexander on to talk about Punisher Warzone, it's like an underrated movie that was like in the spirit of the Punisher comic books, and we were like, that would be really great. She's going to talk about her experience there. So I would only do Cabin Boy if we had Chris Elliott and and talking about it in a way that kind of allows us to look at, like, examine something, because like we had Greg Sestero on from The Room. The Room has been done by a million people a million times, but to have Greg on there to talk about his experience, it's a much more interesting thing. It's sort of like what's behind this. And I think, in general, like, how did this get made is about, like, we're joking around like, oh my God, how did this get made? And then sometimes we're like, no, how did this get made? And we've been having this guy Blake Harris, he's been writing these awesome oral histories of all the movies that we've been covering on Slash Film, and he's getting great people to talk. He got Mel Brooks to talk for 40 minutes about the movie Solar Babies, which is basically like roller skating it's so crazy.
So bad.
Roller skating in the desert, just insanity. And but you can get these people to talk about stuff. So that to me is like the best thing. So Blake has really been running the charge of like finding those interesting stories that are real stories.
I love when you do attack it seriously, especially when you're reviewing a scene or you're talking about something, even when we're doing the live podcast, and Jason just jumps out and goes, seriously, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Bananas.
They were it's always scenes where I don't know if it's the director or the studio or the writer was taking it too seriously, and you watch it that it's like it's such a goof, but the person who made it doesn't realize that it's a goof.
Well, it's tricky because you realize more and more as I get to do more stuff and more money is involved, that the more money involved, you have more issues. Like it's like you all of a sudden they want to know what you're doing more. Well, why are you doing that? Well, maybe we should say that. Oh, should the suit be that color? Oh, should this light be like this? So it becomes like this collaborative problem because you have 10 people, like 10 chefs in the kitchen, and they're all saying something. And then what you get is this watered down thing. And I think sometimes unfairly, the director is blamed for the entire thing. Like, for example, the movie that we're doing coming up is The Avengers, the Ralph Fiennes, Uma Thurman, Sean Connery movie.
Yeah.
And that director was like, I made a different movie that you will never see, but the studio cut out things that make it make sense in this, and they left what they felt was the right version of it. And that sucks because at the end of the day, your name is on it. And they're right, look, and if you're going to strike out, sometimes you'll strike out big and it'll be all you, and that was your mistake because you were clouded by it. That's fine. But I think more often than not, it's a lot of people getting in, cutting it, trying to make it make sense, like trying to cut their losses. But I think what they don't realize is like when you start to like really cut things down and they don't make sense, and you're actually doing a bigger disservice to the final product. It will be completely unwatchable instead of just kind of okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them about your favorite Sean Connery movie?
Oh, no. Well, my favorite Sean Connery you did was Zardoz.
Zardoz, man.
Like, hands down, I was living in a basement in Brooklyn for a little while, and I had no internet or anything like that, so I started watching all my DVDs with the commentary.
Oh, wow.
And I got up to Zardoz, and I was like, this John Boorman commentary is like the greatest stream of consciousness thing I've ever heard in my life. Where he's like, oh, that was horrible. That didn't work. Like, what was I thinking? No, that's my daughter in this scene. Like, the Sean Connery chasing the cameraman out of town story, and he never worked again. Like, it's such a great...
It's John Boorman's awesome, and that movie, again, like I always like when you have a really good director who's made like something that's like, oh, that was a big misfire, because their ideas are really big and they're really cool, and they're like, all right, and they tried to do it. But Zardoz to me is awesome. Another good stream of consciousness commentary. There's two I recommend to you. One, if you can get it, the Boogie Nights Criterion Collection. It's Paul Thomas Anderson sitting down getting drunk with each cast member.
Oh my God.
So it's like
amazing.
him and Mark Wahlberg, him and Louis Guzman, and they just like get drunk and they talk about the movie, but individually. So it's like little sessions. The other one, not as fun, but it's also like interesting to listen to, is like any Schwarzenegger one.
Oh, Total
I was just
Recall.
gonna say Conan.
Yeah. Conan is the one I heard.
The very first Conan movie where he's doing the commentary and he winds up getting drunk as he's doing the commentary and just rambles on and ignoring parts of the movie.
It's amazing. Like, that's my favorite stuff and everything.
Yeah,
and
like,
I'm kind of bummed that there's no more commentaries. Like, I feel like they're few and far between.
Well, the Arnold on the Terminator 3 commentary is amazing because he's like, they're going to compare this to 92 Terminator body and stuff. It's really good. I recommend that one too.
Unfortunately, we're down to our last minute. Any last questions?
Any chance of getting a sequel to Hell Baby?
Oh my gosh! Well, probably not. But yeah, that was super fun to make. Hell Baby is this movie we made with the Reno 911 guys, Tom and Ben, and with me and Hubel and Rob Corddry. And yeah, it was like a fun little movie, and we're excited. Like, it got like a little bit more play after the fact, which was really nice.
Paul, I apologize. We have so much we want to talk to you about, but we were pressed for time here with you and your busy
Well,
schedule.
thank you so much for. I'm sorry I was a little bit late, and thank you for fitting me in.
No, it's all right. You have a bunch of projects. Party Over Here on Fox.
Yes, that's a sketch show that I produced with The Lonely Island. I'm not in it, but it stars these 3 awesome comedians, and they kill it. They're great.
Andy Samberg was just
Andy Samberg, yeah. I just saw Andy. We were just bumped each other in the hall. And the only other thing that you could mention is that, in keeping with Andy, I'm in that movie Popstar. For a very brief moment, I'm in Popstar, and it's a super fun movie.
We mentioned Filthy Preppy Teens, which you can see on Fullscreen.
Yes.
Get the app.
Yes, the app. You get a month free. There's about 5 or 6 episodes up at the time that you'll be hearing this. So get it for a month. Cancel it if you don't like it. One of the cool features about Fullscreen, I think every streaming service will do this, is at any point during your show, you can hit a button and make a GIF of whatever you're watching and write text over it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, this is the way that you need to be watching TV from here on out.
It's the future of television.
Yeah.
Like Insta GIF.
It's so great.
And finally, Bad Guys on Adult Swim.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, see you
Paul
later.
Scheer on
Bye, guys.
Twitter, and of course the podcast. How Did This Get Made? Paul, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see
All
you
right,
next time
later.
here in New York.